All right, so at this point, what you should have is you should have your program programmed so that you can move Tiger around the screen using the keyboard. And at this point, you should also be able to do it with the buttons on the gamepad. So I shouldn't have to show you the code for that. Now that you can access the different properties of the rectangle that's holding the picture of Tiger, you should be able to move those around using the keyboard buttons as well as the gamepad buttons. So what we're going to do now is we're going to look at the joystick instead. So if you look at the joystick on the gamepad, it actually is made up of, looks kind of like a coordinate plane system. And if the joystick is sitting right in the middle of the center, both the X and the Y value are 0. And then as that joystick changes position, its X and Y values change as well. And what will happen is that value will range between 0, 1, 0, -1 for both X and for Y. So essentially, if the joystick is pressed all the way down, Y is -1. If the joystick is pressed all the way up, Y is +1. And then it can be a different value in between those depending on where that joystick is. So what we're going to do is we're going to program our game to respond to the joystick instead. So if you need to get up and grab a controller, please do so. You'll want to have that handy for this particular lesson. All right, so having this knowledge of the thumbstick, we're going to add those thumbsticks into our program. We can access the right and the left thumbstick because we have 2 thumbsticks on here. And basically our getState method that we've looked at in past lessons can do more than just get the state of our buttons. We've used it to access the state of various buttons, but we can also use this getState method for our gamepad in order to also get the location of these joysticks. So what we're going to do is we're going to go into this program. We're going to add in our gamepads. We're going to say, okay, I want to create a gamepad state object. I'm going to call that pad1, and I'm going to use the gamepad class, go to the getState method, and then I'm going to send in playerIndex.1 because I want to look at player 1. So that's the first piece here. I'm going to actually use my gamepad. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to delete out my keyboard code here because I'm going to change this. So you should be deleting this out. We don't want to use our keyboard anymore. We want to use the gamepad joystick. So if you look here, essentially if X is greater than 0, if X is over here, we'll move to the right. If X is less than 0, we'll move to the left. If Y is greater than 0, we'll move up. And if Y is less than 0, we will move down. So we're going to program our code to respond accordingly. Now we'll be able to access the thumbsticks by doing pad name.thumbsticks.left. The X property of our thumbstick or the Y property of our thumbstick. So if we go in here, we know that Y -1, so the Y coordinate -1, will actually cause us to move up. So if we go in here, we're going to say, okay, if pad1 dot thumbsticks dot, I want to look at the right thumbstick, and I want to look at the Y property. And if I reference this picture right here, I know that when Y is moving up, so when my Y coordinate is decreasing, that means my thumbstick is greater than 0. It's between 0 and 1. So I'm saying, okay, if that thumbstick location, if that Y value is greater than 0, then I want my Y value to decrease in my program so that it moves up the screen. Then from here, the next line of code will be very similar. pad1.thumbsticks.right.Y coordinate. But this time we're looking at, okay, when Y is less than 0, what do we want to happen? So when that joystick is pressed down, its Y location is less than 0. We want our Y coordinate of our picture to increase so that it goes down the screen. Now from here, the next one we want to do is we want to do the X coordinate. If that X coordinate is less than 0, we want it to move to the left so that X will change. And then here, if that X coordinate is greater than 0, we then want that X value to increase by 1. So what should happen now if you press start, you should be able to use the right thumbstick and you should be able to move Tiger around the screen. So if you're having some issues, let me know. This is the time when I'm going to have you call me over so I can just check off that you've got this down and you've got it working. If you'd like to experiment with another picture, maybe you want to use the left thumbstick instead. So maybe you want to have two pictures moving with the same controller using that left thumbstick. But make sure you can get those thumbsticks to work, as you'll want to use those in the game that we're going to create for this particular chapter. So best of luck. Keep me posted on how it's going and let me know if you need any help.